Hi, my name is Moshe Kindler, and I'm the publisher of The Jewish Link.
Hi, this is Elizabeth Kratz. I'm editor of The Jewish Link.
And you're on the Jewish Link Pitch Meeting podcast.
So, Rebbetzin Dr. Adina Shmidman, thank you so much for being here today and for coming to the Jewish Link Pitch Meeting podcast.
It is a pleasure. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. It's great to see you.
Yes, always a pleasure. So I want to explain, I guess, the concept behind the pitch meeting and why the Jewish Link's podcast is called the pitch meeting. But it works really well and dovetails into all the projects that we're working on right now at the Jewish Link and having to do with the OU Women's Initiative, of which you are the director, the founding director. That is correct, as you know. And it's just basically lovely to have you here in person. And I think our readers will also just really enjoy the perspective on all of the different kinds of programs that the Women's Initiative is currently running. And it's really multiple tracks, and it's almost makes your head spin.
There's a lot going on.
So it's great. So thank you for coming. Do you want to do a quick history of the world according to Rebbetzin Dr. Adina Shmidman before you began at the OU, or do you want to just start talking about the 2018-2019 timeframe when you began working at the OU, or a combination?
Okay, or November 2017 when the department was birthed.
Okay, great, okay. Perfect.
So I grew up in New York, schooled in New York. I have a bachelor's from Queens College in psychology, a master's in school psychology from Queens College. I have a master's in Jewish education from Yeshiva University Azrieli School of Jewish Education, and my PhD is from the City University Graduate Center.
In what topic?
Educational psychology. And we moved... Before I finished my dissertation, we moved to Birmingham, Alabama for 9 years. My husband was a rabbi down there. So we went down to Birmingham, and actually the doctorate went down to Birmingham, spent some time, we spent some time down there, it spent some time down there, and then I finished it up when we moved back to Philadelphia. My husband's a rabbi we live in a suburb of Philadelphia, and my husband is a rabbi of the Lower Merion Synagogue. Yeah. So I wear a lot of different hats, very proudly. So I am Rebbetzin of the Shul. I am the mikvah co-chair, kala teacher, a lot of different pieces. And I think that all of that is so relevant to the work that I do now with the Women's Initiative. So the Women's Initiative was born, if you will, November 2017. And the idea was to create a space for women in the area of Torah learning and teaching, to provide leadership opportunities and training and support, and community engagement. And with the overarching vision of building community, a community of women of different ages, different backgrounds, but coming together in these three spaces.
Right. And it has become, in the last 5 years, it has turned into really a force of nature. It's really, you have two separate conferences, I believe, on two separate tracks running biannual each. Is that how it is?
That is the hope, to take the understanding our community's mental health for Rebbetzins, kala teachers, kiruv chinuch professionals. In-house, we refer to it as ROC, Rebbetzins, outreach, chinuch, kala teachers.
Okay.
They are the rock.
Very good.
Of our community.
Yes.
And we were very excited to bring these women together last summer, and we're hoping to do it every other year.
And that was the one that I attended in Stanford last year.
Correct. Elizabeth,
yeah, I was there.
You're with us.
It really took me, and I apologize for not connecting. It took me until this year to revisit the leadership summit of the Women's Initiative
of 2019
to understand the difference between the two cohorts. They have a little bit of carryover, I think.
Correct.
But but basically, I think you initially ran the first, correct me if I'm wrong, the first leadership summit, I think, ran in 2019.
Correct.
Okay. And then in 2021, it was virtual, possibly,
Yes.
because of the pandemic.
Correct.
And now we were back this past week
Correct.
in Eatontown, New Jersey.
You got it.
Okay.
You got it. So the vision is we need to support our leaders.
Right.
Leaders need an investment, and the investment is exponential, because once we invest in leaders, then that comes back to the communities. But the question is, who are our leaders? What are the leadership spaces?
Mm-hmm.
So we began in 2019 with lay leadership, which is
nonprofit heads and
heads of boards, sisterhoods, heads of chesed initiatives, women who are in that lay leadership space. And the idea was give them knowledge, networking, nurturing, and noshing.
The food is
You got to do the food. You got to do
extremely
You got to
impressive,
do the food.
I have to say, yeah.
And so take them, raise them. By raising them and connecting them, we're building community.
Right.
And a community, both we're building the communities, but we're building a community of leaders.
Right.
But at the same time, you have women who are in the Klei Kodesh side, so that's Lay Kodesh.
Yes. Okay.
Shout out to Richard Joel for that term.
Lay Kodesh.
And this is Klei Kodesh.
Okay.
Okay.
So community leaders, and then like lay so the Rebbetzins, the Kala teachers, being the klal,
Correct.
the
They're-
klal leaders.
So they're on the Kodesh side.
Okay,
They're
right.
they're the women, the Klei Kodesh. I mean,
Right.
that's a term that people just sort of use around Klei Kodesh.
Okay.
They're the ones who are in the spiritual mentorship, leadership
Yes.
space.
Right.
And then you have the people who are much more on the organizational space.
Right.
Now, again, to your point, there is overlap.
There is a little
bit.
Yeah.
It's like that Venn diagram and that sort of
Yes.
sliver of Venn. I
Correct.
actually learned that that's what it's called, that
the
middle.
sliver
it's
of
called
it.
Venn.
Oh, very interesting.
Anyway, he was a person, actually.
The Venn?
Venn.
Oh.
Venn, what? Yeah.
I'm gonna
You can
Google that
it.
later.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Right.
the idea is there are two equally important and equally pivotal roles that women have in their communities that are leaders. They are sitting leaders, but they have different needs. They have different jobs.
Exactly.
And the conferences look a little bit different, though some carryover in terms of speakers as well. And I just have to shout out, and I want to say this because I also wrote it in the article that I've drafted, but Rachel Sims, who is the general counsel of the OU, I don't know what it is about her, but she spoke I think I first heard her speak at the Understanding Our Communities event last year, and it was about, Rebbetzin confidentiality and
Correct.
in
Yes.
spiritual counseling situations. And then I remembered so well how spellbinding she was in that lecture that I returned for her event 2 days ago. And it was about privacy concerns for your nonprofit. And it was spellbinding again. And I have to say, there are some speakers who you just have to get every time because
I love that.
Wow.
And I'm going to add to that, which is that is OU talent.
She is inside talent.
Inside talent. So one of the exciting parts or outcomes of the conference space is that we got to showcase not only our department,
right,
but the wide range of OU talent. And there is so much talent in the OU, and that's super, super exciting.
Yeah, she's an excellent speaker, and she's extraordinarily knowledgeable and erudite.
Agreed.
Wow.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, really, me too. I'm like, where is the Rachel Sims fan club? I want to be in it. She knows it too, because I went up to her, and then about 5 of us who had been at the event last year were talking about this one incident that had happened that came up in conversation a year ago. We literally were continuing a conversation we had from a year ago.
I love it.
And it was just, and that was another thing that I wanted to just, before we move on out of the conference space, because I know the Women's Initiative does so much more than conferences, I also wanted to say that many of the comments I got from the New Jersey participants as part of my article that I'm still drafting was that the greatest benefits sometimes happened outside of the sessions. And it was the hallways, it was the meals, it was after the meals, it was as people were walking out together, and the level of network and the level of comfort that each participant had with others sitting next to them, and like sort of shared comfort and connection of like sort of people who are in the same role in their community, and it didn't matter where anyone was from, and there are people nationwide and Israel, I believe,
correct,
coming.
yes.
And it was just an impressive group. And last year as well was I think last year drew a little more nationwide. Like it seemed like there were more Michigans and Pittsburghs and things like that. I don't know.
So it's interesting. There were women from 40 different cities and 20 states
for this year. Okay.
For this year,
20 states.
What was interesting in as far as the attendance last year was that the conference was coming off of a fellowship.
Okay.
So there was an 8-week fellowship that preceded the conference in last summer.
Okay. This is your mental health.
Correct.
What's it called?
The Mental Health Fellowship, Foundations of Mental Health Fellowship.
Okay. Right.
An 8-week course. And so those women came to the conference for a pre-day, and then they were there for the 2-day conference.
Okay.
So that added a level of diversity, and I would also say a level of depth, because those women had been together for 8 weeks intensely with a course, with facilitated small group conversations. We just began the second cohort of that group. The idea this year will be to bring cohort 1 and cohort 2 together and then revisit the conference next year. Okay. So it's, to your point, there are different groups of leaders that need different experiences or could benefit from different experiences. I'm glad you noticed the networking. We actually took the feedback. I once heard a term from a fellow, Joe Hirsch. He's an educator. He introduced me to the term feed forward rather than feedback, right? Feedback, feed forward. Right? So take it and use it, right? Take the information. So we heard at the summer conference that people wished they had even more networking opportunities. And we built it into the conference this time, the other day, the conference that you experienced. So you picked up on that. We actually told people, cut a class. It's okay. You have permission. There's a networking room. Use that space. Just squeeze it. Squeeze the opportunity. We sat the women for both lunch meals. Firstly, to just dissipate any anxiety of, oh goodness, where should I sit? I don't know anyone, I want to meet new people. Mm-hmm. And people really appreciate that, both from the anxiety aspect, but also from the opportunity to continue to meet new people. We had a speed dating where we had rows of women and they were moving. I have to say the din in the room was way loud. It was actually almost hard to hear, but it was exciting to see how much value we were putting on networking and how much that was appreciated by the women. We actually started the first session on Tuesday a little bit later. Considering that everybody was in the hotel, we really could have started earlier. But again, we wanted people to meet. So we tried to find that sweet spot between sessions and networking, right? And really hit that sweet spot, which I think we did.
That's great. It really, the energy at the conference, I was only there for one of the 2 days of the conference, one of the 2 mornings even, and the energy was just palpable and it was beautiful. And like, again, a very impressive showing from New Jersey, which is my hometown, obviously. But it was just, it was lovely to see. And what's amazing is that this conference and this particular iteration of the OU's initiatives grew only over the last 5 years. So it's really amazing and exciting.
I agree.
I'm a fan.
I agree 100%.
I think I may have been, I don't want to take too much time out of this, but I think I may have been the first person to interview you when you were hired. Is that still true?
So. Okay. I think so.
I was, because I was sort of...
kindly interviewed me.
Thank you. So the idea being that if the OU Women's Initiative hadn't been established at that point. It would have needed to have been invented, by somebody else in some other in some other organizational capacity. And we were just all really lucky to be able to witness however they plucked you out of Lower Merion, and they're like, it has to be Rebbetzin Dr. Adina Shmidman. And it's really like the rest has been history, but it's not just the conferences. That's one of the things that I want to make sure that our community understands, because the Nach Yomi initiative, for example, and I think you also had a summer Beit Midrash, the elite. Is that new from last summer, or has it been running for 2 summers already?
It's actually, this is going to be its 4th summer.
Okay, so
it evolved.
Okay.
And it's a fantastic space to really delve into higher level textual learning.
Amazing.
We have superstar educators and talent that we've used before. And one very exciting space that for me is of great value is to afford women the opportunity to step up to the mic. We have, of course, the marquee names and names that we're all familiar with, speakers that we keep seeing again and again and again. But what about women who have talent, but nobody's handed them a microphone? At the Women's Initiative, we have the opportunity to cultivate talent, to move talent forward, to create a pipeline of women Torah role models, educators, who we can then showcase, and communities can find them and invite them, and we can take their Torah learning and spread it widely. So whether it be in the elite virtual Beit Midrash space, whether it be through the Torah Mecha Nach Yomi space, Torah Mecha Parsha, Rosh Chodesh Lunch and Learn, we're constantly looking for talent. And also sharing names that people, sharing the Torah of women who everybody knows and loves. Right. We actually have a program right now, the Counting Towards Sinai program, which is super exciting. We've gotten a really great pickup for that. That is a daily audio, 3 to 5 minutes. People seem to really like that very short, tight message. On Shmona Esrei, we have used this space as a tefillah space. We've done different things with the Counting Towards Sinai. In fact, the last 2 years, it was a video that was the final project for our Art of Speaking advanced course. Okay. This year, the selection of teachers was in an effort to recognize 75th Israel's 70th, not just recognize, honor and celebrate Israel's 75th birthday. I was trying to think of how to do it in a meaningful way. And so all the women who are teaching are from Israel. And it is so invigorating to hear them open up their presentation. I'll just use my daughter-in-law as an example. So they start off, Ki mitzion teitzei Torah u'devar Hashem Yerushalayim. My name is Elisheva Shmidman from Yerushalayim, and today we will be learning about. And it's just wow. It feels current. It feels current. It feels holy. It feels meaningful. What a fabulous way to recognize a 75th birthday with all this Torah being learned. It's really beautiful, really thrilling.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the Counting Towards Sinai is not the. I know you have multiple projects going on at the same time, but what are the other projects you have? I know you said that there's an initiative either coming up right before Shavuot as well, and maybe you said something kind of an upstart initiative as well.
Right.
So can you go into that?
So
explain that?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So the Upreaching is actually a crowdsourcing campaign.
Okay.
We're looking to fundraise, to continue to support the programming that we do. It's a unique opportunity and very intentional that we are in the pre-Shavuos slot. We want to be in that pre-Shavuot slot. We want to highlight that women learning Torah, women leaders, this is the space, the OU Women's Initiative, to support women in these different spaces. This is the address, and to dovetail our programming with Shavuos is very, very thought. There's thought behind it. It's not a coincidence, and so we're very excited about that. We are going to have some live programs that we're going to be streaming out as part of the Upreaching. We want to not just please support us, but come listen to our Torah, hear what we're all about, and this is where your funding will go.
Okay.
So we're very excited about that.
It's just such an impressive set of. I mean the Torah talent in the virtual Beit Midrash is amazing. This Counting Toward Sinai, which I haven't even gotten a chance to delve into yet, which now we'll be doing that later. But it's so impressive. And also I want to say also other feedback. I personally have not delved into the Nach Yomi.
We shouldn't forget about Nach Yomi. We have to talk about that.
But it is amazing. And the idea of doing a page of Tanakh a day is extremely meaningful to me. And it's like, especially as someone who has, like I've been in a Shabbat Chabora for like years at this point, like 6 years,
Wow.
where we've been doing in-depth Sepharim of the Tanakh. But so the page a day concept is amazing, and it's something that I sort of, when you say chazak v'nis chazek and you want to come back to it, like the day, just a day visit, a few minutes is so powerful and so meaningful. And I also want to say it's now a permanent resource on the OU sites. I don't know if it's not on all DAF. It's on all.
It's on OU
all
Torah.
Parsha?
It's on
okay.
OU Torah. But
Okay.
actually, we have our own app. We have the Torah Dimecha app.
Oh.
And it's on
Do
the...
I know this? Okay, great.
It's on the Torah Dimecha app.
Okay, I'm going to check that out too.
The Nach Yomi, I'm going to just underscore and echo your championing.
Like it's impossible for me to know as an outsider all the different programs that the OU Women's Initiative is running. It's wow.
Yeah. So this particular, the Torah Dimecha Nach Yomi is really a highlight. It's a gem in our crown.
Right.
It was a build out of the existing Nach Yomi program that had been running for a number of years to introduce women teachers, women educators into this space, and to invite women to participate and to join in. We have close to 10,000 who are receiving the daily email.
That's amazing.
And not all of them follow every single day, and that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
But we're to create a community around learning, to make learning a focal point, whether someone has a lot of Torah background. We have those participants. We have participants who have limited Torah background.
Right.
But everybody, and this is to me one of the most remarkable pieces, they're all sitting in the same classroom. Whereas, and not to, just to highlight this maybe more in a positive way, not to in any way suggest that there's anything wrong or that it's a shortcoming, but let me say it differently. Daf Yomi, there's so many Daf Yomi classes that you could go to. Right. So people are hearing different messaging, and they're in different Daf Yomi spaces. One of the exciting pieces or meaningful pieces, everyone's sitting in the same classroom with Nach Yomi. They're all sitting and listening together. And so whether you live in Alaska, and we do have a participant in Alaska, or whether you're sitting in Israel or South Africa or Australia or wherever you are, we're all in the same classroom. We're all in the same community. And that the power in that coming through Nach, to me, is quite remarkable. And another fascinating piece of Nach Yomi, in addition to the daily touch point that was shared with me by a woman who is quite learned and has been through many, if not all, of the Sfarim of Nach, is that she said the impact of learning Nach in the way it was laid out and following that trajectory of how it is meant to unfold, she said was riveting. Riveting. Because usually when you're in school, you're here, you're there, you're jumping all around.
Right.
And maybe you learn this, and then you learn this, and you learn this, but to learn it sequentially and have the just the whole Navi unfold is exceptionally powerful.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, my Chabara has covered a number of beautiful Sepharim over the last 6 or so years, and I do have to say, I was, because of this resource now that is. Like, we're using it not how it was meant as a daily, but we met, well, actually, so Shifra Shapira, who's in my Chabura, knew her already very well, but Rebbetzin Smedar Rosenzweig
Smadar, yeah.
did Eov, right? And we have just completed, we just made a CM actually last week after 2.5 years.
Wow.
Completed
that's
Sefer Eov.
Amazing. And that's not an easy Sefer
It's
on so many levels.
Right. It's a 42 chapter
Correct.
book. However, it should not have taken 2.5 years. But of course, life interferes. It was COVID. Like, we started in September of 2020.
Wow.
And we learned it deep. We learned it with sources. We learned it with Shifra listening to each chapter beforehand.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no, it was amazing.
That's awesome.
So I'm actually about to...
I love to hear that.
Yeah, it's good feedback because she has like such a depth of understanding of Eov, and Eov is like this multifaceted, multi-leveled book with answers that are kind of like not answers, and it's like there's a level of inscrutability, but she really like got to a lot of like the nuts and bolts because of the DOF. I mean, you literally have to, you're looking at this one page and you're like, okay, let's pull something out from this one
Beautiful.
page. So.
I've actually had teachers say to me that they've used this for students, where if a student is either not keeping up or maybe a student needs to listen before they learn so that it'll help support their learning. And my reaction is, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's a resource. Use it. And we're thrilled. In fact, we just built out, so we were a build out, but we've built out a program for high school students, Tehillim 150.
Okay.
And Tehillim 150 is a program where the curriculum is designed and geared toward high school girls.
Okay.
We have over 20 schools signed up, students from over 40 schools participating, so close to 700 students.
Wow.
They're learning daily. The thought was to have for students to commit to a 2-year program. It's really tough. It's really tough. It runs on Shabbos. It's a lot. I mean, obviously after Shabbos, not on Shabbos.
Right.
But here, if we can invite the high school girls to come on board for 150 days of Tehillim,
right.
They're familiar with a lot of the prakim of Tehillim. And if we can gear a curriculum and create an audio that's 3-4 minutes, that's tailored to them, the examples speak to them.
Yeah.
It's fantastic, and the feedback has been overwhelming. The tagline is 150 days, 150 ways to connect with our Creator.
Wow.
Lovely. Right? Really super. So we're so excited. I think the women also like that one for 2 reasons. I think one of which is they listen to the high school examples and they say to themselves, I'm so happy I'm not in high school anymore. Or I'm so nostalgic for high school. This is so nice to hear. So, I think on both fronts, it's very sweet.
Yeah. So we Tehillim is a powerful sefer anyway as well. And I think there's a nice thing about it is people return to Tehillim again and again throughout their lives in different iterations, different reasons, and people like just to be able to say, Tehillim 22. I remember that from this moment in my life when I was saying that. Or Psalm 100 is such a powerful one for me. There's so many ways that I can see that being extraordinarily useful to have at a younger age. I don't think I studied Tehillim at a young age.
And I don't think I did, and certainly not in a way of going through all of them.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And really just knowing that there is a little touch point each day. Each one of those 150 prakim, and to meet each one,
right?
And we're meeting them at their level. It's really fantastic.
Right.
We're so excited with that program. It was a clever way not just clever, a meaningful, let's use a more meaningful word, a meaningful way to bring these girls on board and say to them, maybe not 742 days,
right,
but 150, come along with us.
Nice.
And if you want to stay with us,
right,
we're happy to have you on board.
Right. I just can't imagine how, like, the 42 chapters of Sefer Eov that I just finished, I'm like, I can't imagine that being done at a high school level. But I feel like I kind of want to go back through the Nach Yomi way after, maybe give it a little bit for me to sit with it for a while, but I'd like to try it again on the Nach Yomi. And is Nach Yomi something that people can jump in on anytime?
Absolutely.
So how does it work? Like what are we up to? What's going on?
We are at Tehillim 90 today, Parak 90, Parak Tzadi, and you can just sign up.
Okay.
Sign up and ou.org/women/nach.
Okay.
Come on board and just pick it up where you are.
And it's a recording and also maybe like an email that has...
Correct. So there is an email. There's a summary that is written by Rabbi Jack Abramowitz. He's the one who... I'm so happy that we're saying his name because this was his idea of Nach Yomi. And he's behind it all. So he's the one who does the back end. He's super. So you receive a daily email from him. You can access it on the Tardi Mecha app.
Okay.
And it's an email summary of the Parak by Rabbi Abramowitz, and then there are two links. There's a link to the existing men's shir that was recorded whenever it was, several years back.
Okay.
And then a recording of the shir that is being released daily. So this is current, it's not recorded yesterday, it's recorded maybe a week ago or 2 weeks ago,
sure.
But it is current material. We were actually, when it came to this is our second cycle.
Right.
So there was a question whether we were going to develop new content, and I felt very strongly that we should. The first cycle was during COVID, and it was very COVID.
Yeah.
Imagine learning Sefer Yeshayahu, Yirmiyahu. It's so intense. Tehillim during COVID, it ramped up the content,
right?
But the content also became very COVID infused. So we really wanted to come back. And the question is this third cycle. We're seriously toying with another round, but we also want to figure out new areas, because there's so much to explore, whether it be Chumash, whether it be Tefillah. There are women who have already done 2 cycles and may be interested in another daily learning program, so we're really giving that serious thought.
And how long is one of the cycles?
742 days.
Oh, it is. Okay.
So it's 2 years plus, keeps sliding.
Right.
About 10 days.
Okay.
Fascinatingly, and this is the only time that this will happen, maybe for the next 100,000 years. I don't know how long it takes to slide around the calendar, so maybe a little less. But the fact that Daf Yomi and Nach Yomi were aligned in the same week. They both started January 2020. Really gave us a perfect onboarding opportunity. And that's when we introduced the Tardi Mecha Nach Yomi program. So it was a unique opportunity in history, really, because the Nach Yomi cycle is 2 years and the Daf Yomi is 7.5. Really, to find them aligning again, it's not going to happen for quite a while. So we were very fortunate that we took the opportunity, seized it, grabbed it, and just ran with it.
Right.
And I've had tremendous interactions because of it. I met a woman actually the other day at the conference. I had heard this story from my sister-in-law, but this woman came over to me. She said, I just want to introduce myself. I learned Nach Yomi. I named my son Azariah because I was learning Sefer Daniel when I was driving back from the fertility clinic, and I just...
Oh my God. That's beautiful.
It's exceptional. Unbelievable. Yeah. This may sound a little bit more mundane. Sorry, that was that more from the intense to the mundane.
Okay.
I was after being on a subway, and welcome to the New York City subway station, subways where there's a delay here and the subway's not running here because there's signal traffic here and all that. I end up on a subway that I would have never been on, walked onto the subway car, standing in front of a woman, and we do that, that glance of like, I know you're from, I'm from, kind of thing. And then she looks back at me and she says, wait a minute, you're Nach Yomi.
Oh.
And I said to myself, what a gift. I can't, I was already like, I can't believe this is taking so long. I gotta get home. I commute to Philadelphia. So it is a long trip. It's a very, I am thrilled to be making the trip. I'm considering myself to be so fortunate and blessed to be able to do what I do, and to take all we opened with my education, and to take all of that and my experience, having lived in Birmingham and grown up in New York and now living in Philadelphia, and all of the pieces, and to be able to take all of that and to be given the opportunity to use it to be able to create and share Torah and share leadership opportunities widely. It's a very unique space. And it's I'm very, very blessed and fortunate.
It is a real pleasure. It's like, I remember when the Nach Yomi cycle began, oddly enough, because I was at the Siyum HaShas in January 2020 with my husband, who was completing his second time around with his cycle. And what's interesting, it's sort of like everything is min hashamayim. Like, there's so many pieces of this that I didn't know before because I wasn't focused on it. But I was really taken by the concept of
daily learning.
Daily learning, yes, but also specifically the daf. And brachos is like a 3-month, I can't remember exactly how many pages it was. It was that brachos got me. I joined my husband then for the next for the first masechta of the first cycle. And I did brachos, and what brachos taught me was how to look up text and how to look up sources in the Gemara when I needed them. I applied it to Sefer Eov. I applied it to Shmuel Aleph. I applied it to all of these different Sepharim that I've been learning in my Nach Habora. I can literally go to my husband's bookshelf, which he's no longer using because he's been ill, but now I somehow learned how to look up a source. And it's given, like, the idea of the daily revisiting and coming back to it, and the fact that it's always going to be here, I find it very comforting, and I'm so excited and very grateful and glad that the OU has prioritized women's learning in this way and made such a, like, it's not just the daf, the daily page, or the Nach Yomi, it's the resource and the breadth and the depth of learning and the availability of such experts to share these words of wisdom, and like just going through it, like it's always here for us too.
Correct.
So it's really lovely. It's really amazing.
And using the technology, and that's so exciting that there are tools that are now one is able to be directed to these tools,
right,
and use these tools impactfully.
So is the Torah Imecha app, is that also like it's an app, but it's also on like podcast? Is it on podcasting?
You can get these as podcasts.
Okay. So people can have it delivered to them in
correct. Spotify and Apple.
Okay.
Absolutely.
It's just great. The accessibility.
It's
so
tremendous.
Useful.
It's really tremendous.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what else do we have to look forward to? Anything that we need now that we can anything that we can look forward to? Any announcements you want to make about? I know it's going to be coming up on Shavuot.
So we're really excited about the Counting Towards Sinai that's going on now. We're starting Sefer Bamidbar in a few weeks with Amy Horowitz. She's an educator out of South Florida. We have of course, the Rosh Chodesh Lunch and Learn. We have our Upreaching campaign, which is an opportunity to support what we do. And then we're just really excited about the Elite Virtual Beit Midrash in the summer. We have, in fact, we were talking about this today, we have a very meaningful and poignant Tisha B'Av program. We wanted to be on that Tisha B'Av calendar square in a meaningful way. The last 2 years have had 2 Holocaust survivors, 2 each year, and we're, please God, going to be doing this again, where we where I've interviewed them and to highlight their faith, keeping faith despite adversity. And on Tisha B'Av, where one experiences or revisits or is immersed in the tragedies of our people, and certainly the most recent horrific tragedy being national tragedy, being the Holocaust, to be able to hear from women who have held on to faith despite being in the most horrific of conditions is remarkably inspiring. And everyone's always looking for films and things to watch on Tisha B'Av, and we have found that to be such an important space to share these women's messages. So that will be on Tisha B'Av. We roll right into the Yemei Ratzon programming, our Slichot Night of Inspiration. That was an opportunity to get, or it is an opportunity to afford women who may not go out for Slichot messaging to come to them. And so we've had the last few years speakers on that Slichot night. So we have a lot going on, and we're just really excited. We're hoping post Yantif to introduce our advanced writing course. And so that's under development. So you'll check back in.
Amazing.
And as speaking to a writer. And so there's just a lot going on. We're really always thinking about those three areas: Torah, leadership, and community engagement. How can we support communities? How can we invest in leaders? And how can we continue to spread Torah?
Wow. Yeah. It's really amazing. It's really been exciting to watch the building out of the OU Women's Initiative over the last 5 years, and it's just been, it's more than I ever would have imagined. Like more engagement, more leadership opportunities, more teaching, more learning, and it's just, kol hakavod, but like whatever that does, from me that doesn't mean anything. But
it does.
Have, as a witness to it and a participant in some of the programs, I've really I've gained a lot, and it's exciting for me to bring the kinds of programming that you're talking about to the Jewish Link community. I know that we have so many women leaders in, the Teaneck, Bergenfield, Edison, Highland Park, Passaic communities that are just, and of course Westchester, Manhattan, and everything. But we're always looking for what the next growth opportunity is, and these are this is a community of women who are growing. I
love the word that you said, community, and Elizabeth, you've been such a champion from day one, and that is so deeply appreciated. What's been so powerful is to see the community built around this, whether it be the community of Torah learners, whether it be the community of leaders. The engagement and the investment and the sense of closeness, despite miles and different cities and different places and spaces, but that
across age groups
and ages. In fact, I'm happy that you said that. That was something that was very striking at the conference, at the summit. It was remarkably diverse, and there's such strength in that. And to know that we're also cultivating talent in leadership and raising and building young leaders and seeing young women investing in their communities, and really something very exceptional for us to be investing in them.
Yeah. So. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Rebbetzin Shmidman, for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth.
There's so much that you pitched, and much of this will appear in the paper in the coming weeks, and we just look forward to knowing and learning more from you. And thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being with us on the Jewish Link Pitch Meeting podcast. If you would like to participate or be in touch with us in any way, please email us at editor@jewishlink.news and follow us and find our podcast wherever you find podcasts.